On November 3, 1938, the Japanese Prime Minister, Prince Fumimaro Konoye, delivered a radio address to the nation, expressing his criticism of the League of Nations and the enforced maintenance of the existing state of affairs. In his speech, Konoye pledged Japan's commitment to establishing a new global order, in collaboration with like-minded nations, while also warning of potential prolonged hostilities, and expressing unwavering confidence in the armed forces' ability to achieve the desired outcomes. Konoye's vision aimed to provide Asian nations with an opportunity to partake in prosperity and peace, free from Western influence and under the protection of Japan. This address marked a significant turning point, as it signaled Japan's intentions to confront the dominant Western powers, namely Britain and the United States, in their quest for supremacy in the Asian and Pacific regions. In 1940, Japan seized an opportunity to exploit France's defeat in Europe. On June 19, they issued an ultimatum to Georges Catroux, the Governor-General of Indochina. The ultimatum demanded the closure of the Kunming-Haiphong Railway and the Haiphong port, effectively cutting off China's access to further material support. Additionally, Japan insisted on sending a 40-man inspection team, led by General Issako Nishihara, to ensure compliance with their demands. Despite Catroux's initial resistance and his warning that Japan's aggressive behavior violated their sovereignty, he ultimately realized that his troops were ill-prepared and incapable of mounting a sustained defense. Moreover, he understood that no assistance would be forthcoming from Great Britain or the United States. Consequently, Catroux reluctantly complied with the ultimatum on June 20. Following Catroux's capitulation, Admiral Jean Decoux promptly replaced him as Governor-General. However, Catroux remained in his post on June 22, when Japan issued more demands, requesting naval basing rights at Guanghaowen and the closure of the Chinese border by July 7. On June 29, General Nishihara arrived in Hanoi, and on July 3, issued a third demand to Decoux, which involved the establishment of Japanese air bases and the right to transit troops through Indochina. Decoux, feeling isolated and lacking any real authority, resorted to stalling tactics, hoping for intervention from Britain and the United States. However, on July 17, the British Commonwealth, under immense pressure from the threat of a German invasion and engaged in the Battle of Britain, appeased Japan by closing the Burma Road. This action sent a clear message to both Japan and the Vichy administration in Indochina. Japan was well aware of the United States' reluctance to become involved in an Asian conflict, and this lack of decisive support only emboldened them to pursue their aggressive demands. Consequently, on July 27, a liaison conference between the Japanese government and the Imperial General Headquarters agreed to pursue a southern advance. They believed that an imminent German invasion of Great Britain would knock the British Commonwealth out of the war, thus opening up opportunities in Asia. On August 1, Foreign Minister Yosuke Matsuoka approached the Vichy ambassador to Tokyo, Arsène Henry, with a request for Japanese troops to enter Indochina and occupy a small number of airfields. Although Henry believed that the government would deny this request, he passed it on to the Foreign Minister Paul Baudouin, who recognized the dire position France was in. Baudouin understood that refusing Japan's request would lead to an attack on Indochina, a territory they were incapable of defending. On the other hand, negotiating with Japan could potentially avoid the total loss of the colony and preserve the future wealth that Indochina would provide. On August 7, Lord Halifax and the U.S. ambassador to Japan, Joseph Grew, both expressed concerns regarding Japanese demands on Indochina. However, Japan, armed with prior intelligence, remained undeterred by these objections and continued to push for their demands, recognizing the reluctance of both the United Kingdom and the United States to defend Indochina. The Vichy government instructed Henry to concede to Japanese demands on August 30. This concession allowed 6,000 Japanese troops to enter Indochina. In an attempt to stall the negotiations, General Maurice Martin took over on September 4 and signed additional agreements with the Japanese. However, talks were abruptly suspended on September 6 upon learning that a rogue battalion from the 22nd Army, led by Lieutenant General Seiichi Kuno, had violated the border near the French stronghold of Dongdang. This violation was a result of frustration with the French tactics and their superiors' unwillingness to enforce terms. On the same day, Japanese intelligence intercepted French diplomatic messages to the United Kingdom and the United States, revealing the details of the signed September 4th agreement and a plea for military assistance. On September 11th, General Nishihara informed Tokyo of his belief that the French would prolong the negotiations. In response, the Imperial General Headquarters ordered troops to cross into Indochina on September 22nd. 7 days later, on September 14th, Martin returned to the negotiations, only to face new demands from the Japanese delegation. These demands included increasing troop numbers from 6,000 to 25,000 and gaining access to 5 airfields. Furthermore, the Japanese made it clear to Martin that they would advance into Indochina unless he agreed to their demands. Faced with the imminent loss of the colony and entrusted with preserving French Indochina, Martin agreed to Japan's aggressive demands, and signed 7.5 hours before the deadline expired. After receiving news of Martin's compliance with the Japanese demands, Chinese soldiers deployed in Yunnan province proceeded to enter Indochina, where they found themselves confronted by French colonial troops who were compelled to defend their positions. On September 22nd, Lieutenant General Akito Nakamura, leading the IJA 5th Division, launched a strategic attack at 2200 hours to secure the railhead at Langsun. This move was prompted by General Chiang Kai-shek's threat to take control of the rail corridor if Japan entered into Indochina. General Nakamura commanded a formidable force of approximately 30,000 men, equipped with a full complement of field artillery as well as Type 95 Ha-Go and Type 97 Chi-Ha tanks. On the opposing side, General Menerat led the 2nd Brigade, comprising close to 5,000 troops, along with a small number of UE-2 and FT-17 light tanks, supported by 75 and 155 mm artillery. The offensive began with the Dongdang, Loc Bin, and the Nha Cham garrisons being the first to face the brunt of the attack. Despite valiant resistance, both Dongdang and Loc Bin found themselves locked in a stalemate with the Japanese forces, leaving them isolated. However, Nha Cham would fall to the Japanese on September 25th, after intense fighting. Meanwhile, the main Japanese force converged on Langsun on the 23rd. However, the Foreign Legion's 600-strong 2nd Battalion, along with 5 battalions of regular and colonial infantry, fiercely defended the garrison and successfully repelled the initial assault. On September 24th, at 10:30 hours, General Nakamura grew increasingly frustrated with the lack of progress and made the decision to escalate the attack. He urgently requested air support from the carriers Soryu and Hiryu to target French positions around Langsun and the coastline, with the aim of clearing the way to Hanoi. The following day, General Menerat, realizing that his forces were severely lacking in heavy artillery and air support, and had suffered significant losses and desertions, reluctantly requested a ceasefire. And by 1800 hours, Langsun had fallen to the Japanese forces. This surrender prompted Martin and the French administration to hand over control of northern Indochina to the Japanese. On September 26, Japanese amphibious forces successfully landed at Dong Tak, located south of the port city of Haiphong. With a formidable force of 4,500 troops and 12 tanks, the Japanese swiftly took control of the Jia Lam airfield and several rail yards near Hanoi. And as a result of this action, crucial supply routes to China were blocked. On September 27, 1940, Saburo Kurusu signed the Tripartite Pact in Berlin on behalf of Japan, establishing a global fascist alliance aimed at reshaping global politics and challenging the dominance of Western liberal democracies. Japan would apologize on October 5 to the French administration for actions taken between the 22nd and 26th of September, disbanding the 22nd Army and relieving officers of their commands. Likewise, the coup removed the French commanders, whom he felt should have anticipated the attack, and issued orders to track down and apprehend the over 1,000 colonial troops, who had deserted under fire. For now, the French would retain control of their Indochina asset, and reap the benefits of a token defense. However, the ongoing oppression of the Vietnamese population, and their forced contribution to the Japanese economy, will lead to the downfall of French Indochina.